The Empire had ruled the stars for 12,000 years, their ships numbered in the millions. Their colonies spread across 3 galaxies. Every species they had ever met had bowed before their power. Emperor sat on his golden throne in the Imperial Palace on Prime, and he believed that nothing in the universe could challenge his rule. He was wrong. On a quiet day in the Outer Rim, a small ship appeared from the darkness of space. It came through a region that they called the Empty Zone because no intelligent life had ever been found there. The ship was tiny. It was barely larger than a shuttle. It moved slowly, as if it was looking at everything around it with curiosity. Fleet Commander was in charge of the border patrol that day. He was a tall with skin and 4 arms like all his people. He had served the Empire for 200 years and he had never lost a battle. When his sensors detected the small ship, he smiled. "What is that?" he asked his crew. "Unknown vessel, Commander," said one of his officers. "It does not match any species in our database. It appears to be scanning us." Laughed, the idea that such a tiny ship would dare to scan a fleet was funny to him. He had 1,200 warships under his command. The unknown vessel had no chance. "Open a channel," he ordered. "Tell them to surrender." The message was sent. For a moment there was silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was calm and steady, speaking in a language that the translation machines quickly decoded. "This is Captain Park of the Terran Republic Scout Corps. We are on a peaceful survey mission. We mean you no harm. Please identify yourselves." Looked at his officers. "Terran, I have never heard of them." He pressed the communication button. "Unknown vessel, you have entered space. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your destruction." There was a pause, then the voice came again. "Fleet Commander, I must respectfully decline. We have done nothing wrong. We will continue our mission. However, I advise you not to take hostile action. It would not end well for you." The Bridge's flagship went silent. No one had ever spoken to a commander this way. Felt his blood grow hot with anger. "You advise me," he said, his voice rising. "You are one tiny ship. I have over 1,000 warships. You dare to threaten the Empire." "It is not a threat," said Captain Park. "It is a warning. We do not want conflict, but we will defend ourselves." Cut the communication. He turned to his weapons officer. "Destroy them." On the small human ship called Wanderer 7, Captain Park sighed and turned to his crew. He was a man of 50 years with short hair and tired eyes. He had hoped to finish this survey mission without trouble. He had hoped to return to Earth, see his wife, and maybe take a vacation. Now it seemed that would have to wait. "They are not going to back down," he said. Lieutenant looked up from her tactical console. She was a young woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. "I am detecting weapon locks from multiple ships, Captain. They are preparing to fire." Sergeant stood up from his seat at the weapons station. He was a large man with thick arms and a calm face. "Should I prepare the defense systems?" "Yes," said Captain Park. "Everyone battle stations. Let us try to keep casualties low." There were 12 people on Wanderer 7. They were not soldiers. They were scouts and scientists trained to explore new regions of space and study what they found. Their ship was designed for long journeys and survival in dangerous places. It was not a warship. But humans had learned long ago that space was dangerous. Every human ship, even a small survey vessel, was built to fight. The fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams shot toward Wanderer 7, bright enough to light up the darkness of space. Each beam carried enough power to destroy a small moon. The beams missed. Wanderer 7 moved in ways that should have been impossible. It twisted and spun, dodging between the energy beams like a dancer avoiding raindrops. The officers watched in shock. Their targeting systems were the best in the galaxy. They never missed. "What is happening?" shouted. "How are they doing that?" "I do not know, Commander," said his tactical officer. "Their acceleration, it is beyond anything we have ever seen. Our weapons cannot track them." On Wanderer 7, Lieutenant smiled slightly as she guided the ship through the storm of enemy fire. "They are using predictive targeting," she said. "Their computers try to guess where we will be, but our engines are too fast. They cannot keep up." "Good work," said Captain Park. "Sergeant, return fire. Disable their weapons only. We do not want to kill if we can avoid it." Sergeant nodded. He activated the ship's point defense turret, a weapon that humans had designed to shoot down asteroids traveling at near-light speed. Against warships, it was far more powerful than necessary. A single beam of light shot from Wanderer 7. It struck the nearest cruiser and cut through it like a knife through paper. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Stared at his screen, one shot. One of his cruisers was gone in one shot. "Commander," said his officer, voice shaking, "they just destroyed the Fury of all hands lost." "Fire everything," screamed, "all ships fire." The entire fleet unleashed its weapons. Thousands of beams filled the space around Wanderer 7. The small human ship continued to dance, avoiding most of the attacks. The few beams that hit its shields did nothing. The shields did not even flicker. Sergeant kept firing. Each shot destroyed a ship. He was trying to aim for engine sections to disable rather than kill. But ships were not built well. They broke apart too easily. Corporal Han, the team's medic, watched the battle on her screen. She was a small woman with gentle hands trained to heal rather than harm. "This is terrible," she said quietly. "They are dying out there." "I know," said Captain Park. His face was sad. "But they will not stop. All we can do is defend ourselves." Private, the youngest member of the team at 22 years old, looked out the window at the burning ships. He had never been in real combat before. "Captain, why are they still attacking? They must see that they cannot win." Captain Park shook his head. "Pride, they have never lost before. They cannot believe that 12 people in a small ship could defeat them. So they keep trying, hoping that the next attack will work." The battle lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of fire and death, of ships exploding and soldiers dying. Fleet Commander watched as his fleet was torn apart. His 1,200 ships became 1,000, then 800, then 500. Finally, he gave the order he had never given before in his 200 years of service. "Retreat," he said. His voice was empty. "All ships retreat." The surviving vessels turned and fled. They left behind the burning remains of 847 warships. Tens of thousands of soldiers were dead. On Wanderer 7, the crew was silent. The battle was over, but there was no celebration. Too many had died. Captain Park sat in his chair and rubbed his eyes. "Lieutenant, send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them we have made contact with a new species. Tell them it was hostile. And tell them we are awaiting further orders." "Yes," Captain said. Far away on Prime, Fleet Commander stood before Emperor. He had brought the footage of the battle. The Emperor watched in silence as his mighty fleet was destroyed by a single tiny ship. When the footage ended, Emperor spoke. His voice was cold. "What class of warship was that, Commander?" "Swallowed, sire, according to our database. It was not a warship. It is classified as a survey vessel." The Emperor's face went pale. "A survey vessel? We lost 800 ships to a survey vessel." "Yes, sire." Emperor looked at his advisors. They looked back at him with fear in their eyes. For the first time in 12,000 years, the Empire had met something it could not defeat. And the humans had not even been trying. 3 days had passed since the first battle. Wanderer 7 floated near a large asteroid belt, waiting for orders from Earth. The crew had used the time to rest and repair the small amount of damage their ship had taken. Sergeant, the ship's engineer, had spent most of his time fixing a dent in the outer hull. "It is not even a real problem," he said to anyone who would listen. "But I cannot leave it like that. It bothers me." Captain Park understood. After what they had been through, everyone needed something normal to focus on. The battle had been terrible. None of them had wanted to kill, but they had given them no choice. Lieutenant was at her console, monitoring the surrounding space. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I am detecting a large energy signature approaching our position." "How large?" asked Captain Park. Was quiet for a moment, then she looked up, her face serious. "Very large, Captain. I am counting 50,000 ships." The bridge went silent. Sergeant let out a low whistle. Private turned pale. Corporal Han closed her eyes and took a deep breath. 50,000, said Captain Park. He sat down in his chair and thought carefully. "They are bringing their main fleet. They want revenge." "Can we outrun them?" asked. "Probably," said, "but they will just chase us. And we still have not received orders from Earth. If we leave, we might lead them toward human space." Captain Park nodded. He had thought of this already. Their mission was to explore, but it was also to protect. If they ran, they might find Earth. That could not happen. "We will stay," he said. "We will try to talk to them first. If that fails, we will fight." The crew did not argue. They trusted their captain. They had served with him for years, and he had never let them down. The Grand Armada arrived 2 hours later. It was the largest military force the Empire had ever assembled, 50,000 warships, each one bigger than Wanderer 7. At the front was the Imperial flagship, a massive vessel called the Pride of. It was as large as a small moon. On the flagship, Admiral stood on the bridge and looked at the tiny human ship on his screen. He was old for nearly 400 years, and he had fought in many wars. When Emperor had ordered him to destroy the humans, he had accepted without question. But now, looking at the small vessel that had defeated an entire fleet, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. He felt doubt. "Admiral," said his communications officer, "the human ship is sending a message." "Let me hear it," said Captain Park's voice filled the bridge. "This is Captain Park of the Terran Republic Scout Corps. I am speaking to the commander of the fleet. We do not want war. Your first fleet attacked us without reason and we defended ourselves. We regret the loss of life. Please let us talk. There does not need to be more death today." Admiral listened. The human's voice was calm and sincere. He sounded tired, not angry. For a moment the Admiral considered responding. Perhaps there was another way. Then he remembered his orders. Emperor wanted the humans destroyed. The honor of the Empire demanded it. No response said all ships attack formation, destroy the human vessel. 50,000 ships moved forward, their weapons charged with power. The space around Wanderer 7 began to glow with energy. On the human ship Captain Park side, they are not going to talk. Weapons charging, reported, they will fire in 30 seconds. Captain Park stood up. All crew battle stations, this is going to be harder than last time, there are a lot of them, we need to be smart. He turned to Sergeant. Target their command ships first. If we can take out their leaders, the others might retreat. Yes, Captain said. His hands moved over the weapons console, preparing the ship's systems. Private was breathing fast. His hands were shaking. Corporal Han noticed and moved to stand beside him. "It will be okay," she said softly. "We have done this before." "Not against 50,000 ships," said. Han smiled gently. "Numbers do not matter. What matters is that we work together. Trust the captain, trust the ship, trust yourself." Took a deep breath and nodded. He was scared, but he would not run. He was a human. Humans did not run. The fleet opened fire. The sky filled with light. Thousands of energy beams shot toward Wanderer 7, a storm of destruction that should have vaporized the tiny ship in an instant. But Lieutenant was ready. Her fingers danced over the controls and Wanderer 7 moved. It spun and twisted, diving between the beams with impossible speed. The human ship was a blur, a shadow that the weapons could not touch. "Return fire," ordered Captain Park. Sergeant fired the main weapon. A beam of white light shot across space and struck the first battleship. The massive vessel exploded, its crew never knowing what hit them, fired again and again. Each shot destroyed a ship. "But there were so many of them." "We cannot destroy them all one at a time," said. "There are too many, we need a different strategy." Captain Park thought fast. His eyes moved across the tactical display looking for an advantage. Then he saw it. The fleet was positioned near a gas giant, a huge planet made of swirling clouds of gas. The planet was mostly hydrogen and methane. Hydrogen and methane, both were very flammable. Said the captain, "I need you on the secondary weapon system, the mining laser." Private looked confused. "The mining laser, that is for cutting asteroids, Captain, it is not a weapon." "It is today," said Captain Park. "I need you to fire it into the upper atmosphere of that gas giant. Can you do that?" "Understood." His eyes went wide. "Captain, if I do that." "I know, do it." Moved to the secondary console, his hands were no longer shaking. He had a job to do and he would do it. Flew the ship toward the gas giant, dodging enemy fire the whole way. The fleet followed, thinking the humans were trying to escape. They did not understand what was about to happen. "In range," said. "Fire," said Captain Park. The mining laser shot a concentrated beam of energy into the planet's atmosphere. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the hydrogen ignited. The explosion was beyond imagination. A wave of fire and plasma erupted from the gas giant, spreading outward in all directions. The ships closest to the planet had no time to react. They were consumed by the fire instantly. Ships further away tried to flee, but the plasma wave was too fast. 30,000 ships were destroyed in seconds. Admiral watched from the pride of as his fleet burned. He could not believe what he was seeing. One tiny ship, one shot, half his armada was gone. "Retreat," he screamed. "All ships retreat now." The surviving vessels scattered in all directions, running as fast as their engines could take them. They did not care about formation or order. They only cared about survival. On Wanderer 7, the crew was silent. They had won, but the victory felt hollow. So many had died, thousands of ships, millions of lives. Corporal Han was crying quietly. Private stared at his hands, the hands that had fired the shot that killed so many. Sergeant put a hand on the young man's shoulder. "You did what you had to do," said. "They gave us no choice." "I know," said. His voice was empty, "but I will never forget it." Captain Park stood up and looked at his crew. They were exhausted, sad, and shaken, but they were alive. They had survived against impossible odds. He said, "Any response from Earth yet?" "Checking now, Captain," she said. She looked at her console and her expression changed. "Yes, we have received a message from Earth Command." "What does it say?" Read the message aloud. To Survey Team 7, message received, diplomatic vessel en route, estimated arrival 14 days, maintain position, do not engage unless threatened. Humanity desires peace, but we will protect our people. Signed, Admiral Moon, Terran Republic Space Command. Captain Park nodded. 14 days, we can do that. He sat back in his chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a diplomatic ship was coming. Maybe there would be peace, maybe more fighting, he did not know. But whatever came next, he and his crew would face it together. Far away on Prime, Admiral knelt before Emperor. His report was simple and terrible: 50,000 ships, 30,000 destroyed, all by one tiny vessel crewed by 12 beings. Emperor sat in silence for a long time. Then he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. What are these humans? No one had an answer. The Emperor looked at his youngest daughter, Princess, who stood in the corner of the room. She was watching, listening, thinking. She was the of his children, and he valued her wisdom. Find out everything you can about them, he told her. I need to know what we are facing. Princess bowed, yes, father. She left the throne room with a heavy heart. She had a feeling that what she would find would not bring comfort, but she would do her duty. The truth, whatever it was, needed to be known. Emperor could not sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the footage of his fleet burning, 30,000 ships destroyed in seconds. His generals told him it was impossible. His scientists told him it was impossible, but it had happened. He stood at the window of his private chamber, looking out at the night sky of Prime. Somewhere out there, in the darkness between stars, 12 humans waited in their tiny ship. 12 beings who had done what no one in 12,000 years had ever done. They had made the Empire afraid. A soft knock came at his door. Enter, he said. Princess walked in. She was young for only 80 years old, but she was brilliant. She had graduated from the Imperial Academy at the top of her class, and she understood technology and strategy better than most of his generals. Father, she said, bowing her head, I have completed my research on the humans. Tell me. Took a deep breath. The humans come from a small planet called Earth in a region of space we have never explored. They have been traveling among the stars for approximately 300 of their years. They are not part of any galactic federation or alliance. They are alone. Alone, the Emperor turned to face her. A species that travels alone, that is unusual. Yes, father, but there is a reason for it. According to the limited data I could find, humans encountered many hostile species in their early years of space travel. They were attacked again and again. Many of their colonies were destroyed. Millions of their people died. Emperor frowned, and yet they survived. They did more than survive, father. They adapted. They learned. They built their technology specifically to handle threats. Every human ship, even their civilian vessels, is built for combat. Their survey vessel that defeated our fleets, it was not a military ship. It was designed for exploration and research. The weapons it carried were meant for defense against natural dangers like asteroids and radiation storms. The Emperor was silent for a moment. You are telling me that we lost 50,000 ships to a research vessel? Yes, father. And their actual military vessels, what are those like? Princess looked at her father with worried eyes. I do not know, father. I could find no information about human military ships, but if their research vessels are this powerful, I am afraid to imagine what their warships might be capable of. Emperor sat down heavily on his chair. For the first time in his long life, he felt old. He had ruled the empire for 500 years. He had overseen countless wars and always won. Now he faced an enemy he could not understand. What do you recommend? He asked his daughter. Hesitated, she knew her answer would not be popular. I recommend we seek peace, father. The humans have said they do not want war. They have asked for talks. We should accept. Peace? The Emperor's voice hardened. We are the Empire. We do not ask for peace. We demand surrender. Father, please listen to me. Stepped closer. We have lost over 38,000 ships in 2 battles against a single vessel crewed by 12 beings. Those 12 beings were not soldiers. They were scientists, researchers. If we continue this war, we will face their actual military, and I do not think we can win. Emperor stood up abruptly, his anger flaring. You would have me surrender. You would have me admit that the great empire was defeated by 12 humans in a survey ship. I would have you save our people, father, said quietly. Pride is worth nothing if everyone is dead. The Emperor glared at his daughter for a long moment, then he turned away, his shoulders tense. Leave me, I need to think. Bowed and left the room. She hoped her father would listen to reason, but she knew him too well. His pride was too strong. He would not surrender easily. She was right. The next morning, Emperor called a meeting of his war council. The greatest generals and admirals of the empire gathered in the throne room, their faces grim. They had all seen the footage. They all knew what had happened. The humans have sent a diplomatic vessel, the Emperor announced. They claim to want peace, but I do not trust them. I believe this is a trick. While we talk, they will gather their forces and attack. Admiral, who had survived the second battle, spoke up. Sire, with respect, perhaps we should consider the possibility that they really do want peace. They had every opportunity to destroy my remaining ships, but they let us go. Weakness, snapped General, a young and aggressive officer. They let you go because they were afraid of our full power. We should show them what happens when you anger the Empire. We should send everything we have, every ship, every weapon. We will crush them. Several other officers nodded in agreement. They were angry and ashamed. They wanted revenge. Emperor looked around the room. He saw the fear in some eyes and the anger in others. He had to make a decision. His pride told him to fight. His wisdom told him to be careful. Pride wins. We will prepare our forces, he declared. All ships in the Empire will gather at the capital fleet. We will meet this human diplomatic vessel with overwhelming force. They will see the true power of and they will surrender. If they do not, we will destroy them. Princess, standing in the corner, closed her eyes in despair. Her father had made his choice. All she could do now was hope that somehow things would not go as badly as she feared. While the Empire prepared for war, life on Wanderer 7 continued quietly. The crew had settled into a waiting routine. They took turns on watch, monitoring for any approaching ships. They exercised in the small gym. They ate meals together in the common room. Sergeant spent most of his time in the engine room. He talked to his family on Earth through recorded messages, telling his wife and daughter about his days. He did not mention the battles. He did not want to worry them. I miss your cooking, he said in one message, smiling at the camera. The food here is fine, but it is not the same as home. I dream about your kimchi. When I get back, please make me a big pot. Private spent his time reading books on his personal tablet. He was studying alien cultures, trying to understand why they had attacked them. He did not find any good answers. They seemed to attack simply because they could, because they were used to winning. Corporal Han kept herself busy with medical training simulations. She also checked on her regularly, making sure everyone was handling the stress of their situation. She noticed that was quieter than usual, and she made sure to eat meals with him so he would not be alone. Lieutenant was always at her console, watching the stars. She was the first to notice when the fleet began to gather. Captain, she said one afternoon, I am detecting massive fleet movements in space. Thousands of ships are converging on a single location. Captain Park looked up from his own console. How many? I cannot be certain at this distance, but based on the energy signatures, at least 200,000, maybe more. The bridge went quiet. 200,000 ships. That was almost the entire military. They are coming for us, said Sergeant. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. They are bringing everything they have. Captain Park nodded slowly. It seems the Emperor has decided to gamble. He is betting that sheer numbers will be enough to defeat us. Will they be asked? The captain considered the question carefully. Numbers matter. Even with our technology, we cannot fight forever, but we are not here to fight. We are here to survive until the diplomatic vessel arrives. He looked at his crew. We will avoid battle if possible. If they force us to fight, we will do what we must. But our goal is peace, not war. The crew nodded. They understood. They did not want to kill anymore. They just wanted to go home. 3 days later, the capital fleet appeared. 250,000 ships arranged in perfect formation. At the center was Emperor's personal vessel, the Eternal Glory, a ship so large that it had its own artificial gravity. The Emperor himself stood on the bridge, watching the tiny human vessel on his screen. There they are, he said, 12 humans and 1 small ship, and now they face the full might of the Empire. Princess stood beside her father. She had asked to come, hoping she might be able to stop what was about to happen. Father, please send a message. Ask them to talk. Emperor ignored her. All ships, he commanded, prepare to fire on my order. On Wanderer 7, Captain Park watched the massive fleet surround his ship. He felt a strange calm. He had done everything he could. Now it was up to fate. Open a channel, he said. Maybe they will listen this time. The channel opened, the captain spoke. This is Captain Park of the Terran Republic Scout Corps. Emperor, I know you are there. Please, I ask you one more time. We do not want war. Our diplomatic vessel will arrive soon. Let us talk. Let us find peace. Do not throw away more lives for pride. On the Eternal Glory, Emperor listened. For a moment, just a moment, he considered the human's words. Then he remembered his honor, his pride, his 12,000 years of empire. All ships, he said, fire. And 250,000 ships opened fire on one tiny vessel. hoping that this time, somehow, numbers would be enough. The space around Wanderer 7 turned white with energy. 250,000 ships fired their weapons at the same moment, creating a storm of destruction that should have vaporized anything in its path. The combined firepower was enough to destroy a planet. Against one small ship, it should have been overwhelming. It was not enough. Lieutenant flew the ship like it was an extension of her own body. She had trained for this her entire career. The weapons were powerful but predictable. Their targeting systems followed patterns that she could read like a book. She twisted and dove, spinning through gaps in the enemy fire that were barely wider than the ship itself. Sergeant, return fire, ordered Captain Park. Target their formation's weak points, force them to spread out. His hands moved across his console with practiced speed. The point defense turret fired in rapid bursts, each shot finding a target. Ships exploded, leaving holes in their formation. But for every ship that fell, 10 more took its place. There are too many of them, Captain said. Her voice was strained with concentration. I can keep us alive, but we cannot defeat them all. We do not need to defeat them, said the captain. We just need to survive, keep moving. On the Eternal Glory, Emperor watched the battle with growing frustration. The human ship was still there, still moving, still alive. His entire fleet was firing and they could not hit one tiny vessel. What is happening, he demanded. Why have they not been destroyed? Admiral shook his head. They are too fast, sire. Our weapons cannot track them, and every time we destroy their position, they have already moved somewhere else. Princess watched the tactical display with different eyes. She was not looking at the human ship. She was looking at the fleet, and she saw something that her father and his admirals did not. The humans were not just dodging, they were guiding the battle. They were making the ships move in specific ways, and those movements were causing problems. Father, she said urgently, we need to stop firing. Emperor turned to her with angry eyes. Stop firing, are you mad? Look at our fleet formation, pointed at the display. They are leading us into each other. Our ships are getting in each other's way. If this continues, we will start hitting our own vessels. As if to prove her point, a cruiser's shot went wide and struck a friendly destroyer. The destroyer exploded. Its debris crashed into 2 more ships, which crashed into others. A chain reaction began, spreading through the fleet. Cease fire, shouted Admiral. All ships cease fire. The weapons stopped, but the damage was done. Over 3,000 ships had been destroyed by friendly fire. The fleet was in chaos, ships scrambling to get away from each other. On Wanderer 7, the crew took the moment to breathe. Sergeant checked the ship's systems. Hull integrity is good, he reported. Shields at 80%. We have taken a few minor hits, but nothing serious. Good work, everyone, said Captain Park. We are still alive, that is what matters. Private was staring at the tactical display. Captain, they have stopped firing. What are they doing? Regrouping, said. They made a mistake and they are trying to fix it. We have a few minutes. Captain Park nodded. He looked at the timer on his console. The diplomatic vessel was still 8 days away. 8 days of this. Could they survive that long? A new signal appeared on the communications console. Someone was trying to contact them. Captain said, we are receiving a transmission. It is not from Earth, it is from the flagship. Captain Park raised an eyebrow. They want to talk. It appears so. Put it through. The screen flickered and a young female appeared. She had the same skin and 4 arms as the others, but her eyes were different. They were intelligent and worried, not angry and proud. I am Princess of the Empire, she said. I am speaking without my father's permission. Captain Park, I believe you when you say you want peace. I have studied your people. I know you are not conquerors. Please help me stop this war before more die. Captain Park studied the princess carefully. She seemed sincere, but could he trust her? What do you propose? He asked. I do not know yet, admitted. But I need to understand. I need to know exactly what we are facing. Captain, I have one question. Please answer me honestly. The ship you command, what is its purpose? What was it designed for? Captain Park was silent for a moment. Then he decided to tell the truth. Perhaps honesty would succeed where weapons had failed. This ship is called Wanderer 7. It is a survey vessel belonging to the Terran Republic Scout Corps. We are not soldiers, we are explorers and scientists. Our mission was to study this region of space and make maps for future colonization efforts. We did not expect to find intelligent life here, and we certainly did not expect to be attacked. Princess' face went pale. A survey vessel, scientists, then the weapons you used against us. Our ship's weapons are defensive systems, explained the captain. The main turret is a point defense gun designed to destroy asteroids that might threaten the ship. The mining laser that caused the explosion in the gas giant is normally used to cut apart rocks for mineral samples. These are tools, Princess, not weapons of war. We were never meant to fight battles, we just improvised. Felt cold, she had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed was different. Captain Park, I must ask one more question. If your survey vessel can defeat our entire fleet, what are your actual warships like? Captain Park sighed. Princess, I would prefer not to answer that question, but I will tell you this. The Terran Republic has been at peace for over a century. We do not want war, but our history taught us to be prepared for it. Our military exists to protect our people and our allies. If we are forced to fight, we will, and we will not lose. Princess nodded slowly. She had her answer. She ended the transmission and turned to face her father. Emperor had been listening. His face was unreadable. Father said, you heard what he said. This is not a warship. These are not soldiers. We have been fighting scientists with research equipment and we cannot beat them. If their military comes, we will be destroyed. You cannot know that, said the Emperor, but his voice was uncertain now. I have been studying their technology, Father. Their shields, their engines, their weapons, all of it is beyond anything we have. By my calculations, their technology is at least 3 generations ahead of ours, maybe more. A single human warship could probably destroy our entire remaining fleet. The throne room was silent. The generals and admirals looked at each other with fear in their eyes. Admiral stepped forward. Sire, he said, I fought them twice. Both times I saw things I could not explain, ships that move faster than our sensors can track, weapons that cut through our armor like it is paper, and through it all they never seemed worried. They fought like it was routine, like we were not even a real threat. He bowed his head. I believe the princess is right, we cannot win this war. Emperor looked around his throne room. He saw the fear, he saw the doubt, and for the first time he felt those things himself. What would you have me do? He asked quietly. Surrender, said Princess, or at least make peace. Their diplomatic vessel will arrive in 8 days. Meet with them, talk to them, find a way to end this without more death. The Emperor was silent for a long time. His pride fought against his reason, his honor fought against his wisdom. But in the end he was not a fool, he could see the truth even if he hated it. Very well, he said at last. We will wait for their diplomats, we will talk, but I will not surrender. I will negotiate as an equal, not as a defeated enemy. Wanted to argue, but she knew she had pushed enough. At least there would be no more fighting for now. At least there would be a chance for peace. On Wanderer 7, Captain Park received word that the fleet had withdrawn to a safe distance. They were still there, watching, but they were no longer attacking. It seems the princess convinced them to wait, said Lieutenant. For now, said the captain, we will see what happens when the diplomats arrive. He looked at his tired crew and smiled. Get some rest, everyone, we have earned it, and when you wake up we will be 8 days closer to going home. The crew smiled back. Home, that sounded good. Corporal Hen put her arm around Private. Come on, she said. I will make you some tea, you look like you need it. Thank you, said he. Was exhausted, but for the first time in days he felt hope. Maybe this war would end, maybe they would survive. Maybe, just maybe, everything would be okay. 8 days passed slowly. The fleet stayed at a distance, watching but not attacking. On Wanderer 7, the crew waited and hoped. They played card games to pass the time. They shared stories about their homes and families. Sergeant showed everyone pictures of his daughter, a little girl with bright eyes who was just starting school. When I get back, he said, I am going to take her to the beach. She has never seen the ocean. Can you believe that? 7 years old and she has never seen the ocean. You should take her to Island, suggested Lieutenant. The beaches there are beautiful. Maybe I will, said with a smile, maybe I will. On the morning of the 8th day, a new signal appeared on the sensors. Sat up straight in her chair. Captain, I am detecting a ship approaching. It is the Herald of Dawn, the diplomatic vessel. Captain Park felt a wave of relief wash over him. Time to arrival. 2 hours. Good, prepare the ship for formal reception. We want to look professional when the diplomats get here. The crew scrambled to clean and organize. Corporal Hand made sure everyone's uniforms were proper. Private polished the conference room table. Even Sergeant, who normally cared little for appearance, made sure his boots were clean. When the Herald of Dawn arrived, the crew of Wanderer 7 got their first look at an actual human diplomatic vessel. It was 10 times the size of their little survey ship, sleek and elegant with smooth lines and gleaming white hull. It was not a warship, but it looked powerful in a different way. It looked like authority, like civilization. A shuttle launched from the Herald of Dawn and docked with Wanderer 7. The airlock opened, and Ambassador stepped aboard. She was an older woman, perhaps in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. Her eyes were warm but sharp, the eyes of someone who had seen much and understood more. She wore a formal suit with the emblem of the Terran Republic on her collar. Captain Park, she said, extending her hand. It is good to finally meet you. You and your crew have done remarkable work. Captain Park shook her hand. Thank you, Ambassador. We did what we had to do. We are just glad you are here. Ambassador looked around at the small ship and its 12-person crew. She saw the tired faces, the worn uniforms, the small dents and scratches on the walls from battle damage. These 12 people had faced an empire alone and survived. You should be proud, she said softly, all of you. The Empire had agreed to meet on neutral ground, a space station in an empty system between their territory and the position of the human ships. Emperor arrived with a large delegation of generals and advisors. Princess was at his side. The humans arrived with Ambassador, Captain Park, and his crew. They had expected many more. When they saw that the human delegation was just 14 people, they were confused. Is this all? Asked General. They send only 14 to negotiate with the Empire. Ambassador smiled politely. 14 is plenty, we prefer efficiency over spectacle. Emperor studied the human delegation. His eyes lingered on Captain Park and his crew. These were the 12 who had destroyed nearly 40,000 of his ships. They did not look like warriors, they looked like ordinary people. One of them, the young woman called Corporal Han, even waved at him shyly. This only made it worse. Let us begin, said the Emperor, sitting down at the conference table. I have agreed to talk, but I want to understand what happened. How did 12 of your people in a small ship defeat our fleets? Ambassador nodded. That is a fair question, Captain Park, would you explain? Captain Park stood and addressed Your fleets attacked us without warning or reason. We defended ourselves. Our ship is equipped with defensive systems designed to protect against natural dangers during long survey missions. When turned against your warships, these systems proved effective. Effective? General laughed bitterly. You destroyed over 38,000 of our ships. You killed millions of our people. You call that effective? Yes, said Captain Park simply. And I regret every death. We tried to avoid killing. We warned you to stop. We asked for peace. You refused. We had no choice but to fight. The room was silent. Princess spoke up. Captain Park speaks the truth. I have reviewed all the communications. The humans asked for peace before every battle. We refused. We attacked. The deaths that followed are our responsibility, not theirs. Emperor looked at his daughter with complicated emotions. She was right, and he knew it, but admitting it in front of his generals was difficult. What do you want? He asked Ambassador. Territory, resources, tribute. The ambassador shook her head. We want none of those things. We want peace. We want friendly relations between our peoples. We want to trade, to share knowledge, to learn from each other. That is all. You could destroy us, said the Emperor. Why do you not? Ambassador leaned forward. Emperor, humanity learned long ago that conquest brings only suffering. We have been attacked many times in our history. We have been invaded, betrayed, nearly destroyed. We survived because we are strong, but strength alone is not enough. We also learned compassion, mercy, the understanding that every life has value, even the lives of our enemies. She paused, letting her words sink in. We do not want to destroy the Empire. We want to be your friends. We want your people to prosper and grow. We believe that a universe where all species work together is better than a universe where we fight each other. That is why we offer peace. Emperor was silent for a long moment. He had expected demands, threats, conditions. He had not expected kindness. Princess touched her father's arm gently. Father, this is our chance. We can end this with our honor intact. We can build something new. The Emperor looked at his daughter, then at the humans. He thought about his empire, his people, his legacy. He thought about the ships that had burned and the soldiers who had died. He thought about what kind of emperor he wanted to be remembered as. Finally, he spoke. I accept your offer of peace. Let there be no more war between our peoples. The room erupted in relief, and human delegates shook hands and embraced. General looked unhappy, but he said nothing. The decision was made. Captain Park found himself standing next to Princess as the celebrations continued. Thank you, she said quietly, for speaking to me during the battle, for telling me the truth. You deserve the truth, said Park. You were the only one who seemed willing to listen. Nodded, my people are proud, too proud sometimes. We believe we are the greatest power in the universe. Meeting you has taught us that we are not. She smiled slightly. It is a painful lesson, but a valuable one. Growth usually is painful, said Park, but that is how we become better. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, then asked the question that had been bothering her. Captain, I must know, if we had not agreed to peace, if my father had ordered another attack, what would have happened? Park thought carefully before answering. Our military was watching. If we had been destroyed, they would have responded. It would not have been a battle, it would have been a catastrophe for everyone. He looked at her seriously. I am very glad your father chose peace. Felt a chill run down her spine. She had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed was sobering. They had been so close to annihilation and they had not even known it. 6 months later, Princess arrived at the human space station called New Hope. It was her first official visit as the exchange ambassador. She had studied humans for months, but seeing their world firsthand was different. The station was full of life. Children ran through the corridors laughing and playing, families sat in cafeterias sharing meals and conversation. Workers hurried to their jobs complaining about traffic and weather just like people everywhere. It was so ordinary, so normal. Had expected military precision, discipline, seriousness. Instead, she found warmth and chaos and humanity in all its imperfect beauty. She saw Captain Park in the distance, walking with his wife, a woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He was laughing at something she said. He looked happy, relaxed, nothing like the grim warrior who had defeated her father's fleets. Private passed by with a group of friends, young people heading to some entertainment. He waved at her cheerfully. He had put on a little weight and looked healthy. Corporal Han was working at a medical clinic, treating a child's scraped knee. She spoke softly to the crying boy, calming him down with gentle words and a small piece of candy. These were the people who had humiliated her empire. These ordinary, everyday people with their ordinary, everyday lives. They were not monsters or super soldiers. They were just humans, living their lives, loving their families, hopping for peaceful tomorrows. And that realized was what made them so powerful. They did not fight because they wanted to. They did not seek glory or conquest or dominion. They fought because someone threatened what they loved, their homes, their families, their way of life. When that happened, they became unstoppable. Not because they were stronger or more advanced, but because they had something worth fighting for. Understood now, her empire had attacked without thinking, without caring, without understanding what they were facing. They had seen a small ship and assumed weakness. They had not known that behind those 12 people were billions more, all of them willing to fight and die for each other. That was humanity's true strength, not their technology or their weapons, their love, their loyalty, their unbreakable bond with each other. Smiled and walked into the crowd of humans. She had much to learn from these strange, wonderful beings, and she had a lifetime to learn it. Far above, the stars continued to shine. The universe continued to turn. And two peoples who had been enemies were now taking their first steps toward becoming friends. It was not the ending anyone had expected, but perhaps it was the ending everyone needed. And somewhere in a small apartment on the station, Sergeant was finally taking his daughter to see the ocean, just like he had promised. She splashed in the waves and laughed with pure joy. That sound, that simple, beautiful sound of a child's laughter, was worth more than all the battles ever fought. That was what humanity fought for. That was what made them humans.